Hi friends, this is Laura with Potpourri of Life. I hope you're having a great day. Here I am, this is number 3 of finance, of being aware of how we're spending our money and how we might be able to try to cut back or adjust how we spend. Today I'm going to focus on our food purchases. That's a tough one because I personally find this to be a little nutty. But it's the way it is right now, and we need to adapt. We can complain all we want, but what's that going to do for us? Nothing. What it's going to do is, for those of you that just take a moment, take that deep breath I talked about, and look at what can you do to make it worth it, make it last longer, your money. So let's talk about food purchases. Yahoo! We need food, right? It's a basic necessity of life. So let's talk about that. Only purchase what you need. That's common sense. But do we all do that? If you're going shopping and you're hungry because you have nothing in the house that interests you, eat a snack. And if you don't have a snack, drink a cup of water because it will fill your belly enough so that your mind can think positively, for most of us. So try to do that. Make sure you have a full belly or a snack, even if it's a granola bar. I don't care what you have. Just have something. An apple would be better because I like to promote healthy things. But, I have granola bars too. So it's like whatever works for you so that you're not going there eating, craving things that you really don't want to have in your cart. And make sure you go with the list. Do I always go with the list? My husband goes with a list because I give it to him, but sometimes when I go with him, I have a list, but then I'll tell him I just want to look for these items, so I might end up putting a few extra things in my cart. So always work with the list, and if it helps you to be more accountable, go with cash, because you won't be tempted to put more. If you shop with your credit card, you won't be tempted to use that. Your debit card only has so much. So if you go with your cash, you'll do better. And how I taught my kids when they were growing up, they wanted certain things. I would give them an envelope system. I said, okay, if you put so much here, so much here, so much here. And these girls did not get allowances. They found other jobs. And we gave them additional jobs that they could earn money. But as they made money, whether it was from birthday gifts, Christmas gifts, things that they did extra for us, grandparents or whomever, they slowly started dispersing their money, and these girls were even tithing to the church. So I'm really pleased that they understood the concept of tithing as well as saving. So that's what I'm suggesting to you, is have an envelope system if you want to use cash as your method of paying for things. Whenever you can, try to buy generic. Not all generics are not alike. I know that years ago, when we were buying the flavored instant packs of oatmeal, there was one store, a big store in New England, that I said, oh, their generic should probably taste just as good as Quaker. No, it wasn't. I would rather eat the sawdust off my husband's woodworking floor than to ever consume that again. That stuff went into the compost because it was horrible. Yet another store, which isn't as pristine, it's more down to earth, their generic brand tasted just as good. So know your generics and know your quality. And I suppose I could have brought it back, but I didn't. And typically I do bring things back that aren't good, but that's usually like a milk. I get a milk with a date on it that should last a week and it comes back and it's sour. I'll call the store and say, hey, this soured, and they generally will take that back. So know your quality, and some generics are much better, if not the same quality as your name brand. And sometimes those generics are made in the same factory. So it should be the same, but who knows? You got to try. Purchase quality. Even generic can be quality. So purchase quality for your items. So not just food, but your clothing and your other needs as well. Comparison shop. I know it's a pain in the neck. I used to do it religiously with my kids when they were here. David and I don't buy a lot of the foods that we did when the kids were younger and when we were younger. We just don't. So now I just kind of like say, okay, I go through the flyer and I decide, okay, what items here are things that we use that are on sale. And watch your flyers, because the flyers will say, save 50 cents. If it's not on sale, it's not going to tell you that, at least in some of the flyers we get. So even though it comes in a flyer, that does not mean it's on sale. So know your pricing. That could be the new price that's going to be on the market shelf. So know those prices. And sorry, that's just something you're going to have to work on. And I got out of the habit because honestly, Dave and I buy more fruit and vegetables, meat, and the dairy that he consumes. So it's different than it used to be. Buy in bulk when you can. Like, I buy molasses because I consume it. So I buy more than one. And I've been having a hard time finding it. So when I saw it the other day, I used to buy it from Walmart, do curbside pickup. I would buy a quantity, pick it up. But lately when I do that, I'd get there and they say, we don't have any. So and we went to a few on our trip over to my father-in-law's. We stopped off at a few to see if we could find it. It was nowhere. And one gentleman told me, he says, I don't think anybody uses that anymore. I said, oh, yes, they do. So when I finally found it, there were 6 on the shelf all lined up, and they were up on that top shelf. So I had my husband reach them, and I did take all 6. This is not something about being greedy and not wanting to leave anything behind, because they get them in case lots of 12 in each box. So the store is having control of what goes on that shelf. So, because there was no room for the others. So I took them. I didn't feel guilty because I've gone to other stores trying to find it. If there were 24 on that shelf, I would have only taken 6, because that's about as far in advance I like to buy my molasses. And because I put it in my coffee every day, I like to have it available to me. And I also bake with it. So I go through it more than some. It's a sweetener for me, and it has nutritional value to it. Onward without the gossip here. Let's see. So comparison shop and buy in bulk when you can. Shop sales. Let's see. Read labels and watch your package sizing when you're reading the labels. Also, be aware of as the changes occur on your products. Manufacturers are trying to save money as well. And what they do is they change the ingredient list because they already got you as a buyer. You trust them. And then they change it to something different. I used to buy a product. It was a chocolate chip that was non-dairy. I don't buy it anymore, and I won't give the name out here. But I now buy mine. Belgium dark chocolate is my preference to bake with. And honestly, as much as I like dark chocolate, I don't crave it because I haven't had any, because once in a while I'll just grab a handful, but I haven't had chocolate in 2 weeks. So it's not something that I actually crave a lot, but when I bake with it, I want it to be a quality that I feel comfortable with. So watch your product ingredient list, because sometimes it may start out not having food dye, and children are affected by the food dye that is in your processed food. Keep an eye out for that, and please, people, try to avoid foods that have food dye. And Doritos used to be my favorite chip. There's food dye that is awful for you, and there's other ingredients in there that are awful. So as much as that product might tempt me, I don't buy it anymore. And it's one of those things I would buy once or twice a year, and I decided not to. So keep that in mind as to what's going on with your food. These are the processed foods that I'm talking about. Let's see, shop sales, read labels, watch your package size. I think I shared in a prior post. Graham crackers, they used to be like 12 in each of those sleeves, and now it's down to 8, and the box is shrunk. Same price, less product. So be aware of these changes as, oh, the price isn't going up. It is if you watch those sizes. Create what you have at home. Be careful not to throw things in the compost because, I've lost interest. Put it in the freezer. Let's see. When we get produce and I don't have time, I've got tomatoes in my freezer right now because I just don't have time to cook them, and I really don't like fruit flies and all that kind of stuff. So as they got red, I threw them in a gallon-sized bag and I threw them in the freezer, which I'll be making some sauce with later on. I was going to make some salsa and I just said, I don't want to do this right now. I got so much going on as we prepare for the colder months. So I just put them in the freezer. But cook from the food you have in your house. And if you can't get to it, make sure you put it away in the freezer, the refrigerator, whatever, so it doesn't go bad. And if you're one that doesn't go through your bag of chips or your cookies or whatever it is, even home-baked cookies, put them in a container with an oxygen absorber, or just make sure it has a nice seal so those foods do not go bad or stale. So when you make things in bulk, like the other day I used a crock pot and I made a beef stew. It was a small one, so it only had like 4 days of meals for David and I. And I knew what my schedule was going to be like, and I really didn't want to be cooking. So instead of putting in jars to preserve or to put in the freezer, that's a supper, that's a meal that I actually enjoy eating for a few days. So I think we have one more day left, so that's what's going to be for supper tonight, and I'll make some biscuits or something that we can have. So make sure that when you bake large or cook large, my crock pot may have run for 4 to 6 hours. I really don't remember. I just wait until the potatoes and sweet potatoes and all those are soft. And then once it's done, and then you put it away, all you have to do is put it in a saucepan and warm it up. And it warms up in a few minutes, folks. You don't need a microwave. Just use a saucepan. You have to clean whatever you put in the microwave anyway. It's not going to hurt to clean the saucepan. So make in bulk, and if you're not going to eat it, freeze it or can it. And it saves energy, and it also saves you time if the meal is already prepared. And you know what? Homemade meals that you have preserved or made in advance are much more nutritious than the pop the lid meals that are out there. Do we have some of those meals on hand? Yeah, I do have a couple cans of that kind of stuff on hand because I think it's wise to have some of that. I just prefer to make them, and I have made a few. When I make chili, my husband does not like chili, so I have to can that up after because I make a good sized crock pot amount, and I'm not going to eat chili for 2 weeks, so I put it in pint-sized jars so that later I can have for 1 or 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, whatever it takes. So okay, this might come across as harsh for you workers. My husband works outside the home too. Make your lunch and bring it to work because it will save you money than going out to lunch, buying a grinder, ordering pizza, whatever. It will save you a ton of money. Plus, it's healthier, or at least for some people, if you make this stuff, like if I make meatloaf, I prefer my husband to have a meatloaf sandwich the next day. If he chooses not to, it's not the end of the world. I let him choose what he is desiring to have at lunchtime. Let's see. So try to do that. Now, when it comes to coffee, a lot of you are lining up at Starbucks and Dunkin' Donuts. How do I know this when I live at home? When I'm at home all the time? When we go visit my father-in-law, he's an hour drive. When we go over, I'm like, what are people doing? The lines, weekdays too, they're just out to the road. Okay, you like those coffees. Have you thought about making it at home? You can make, you can have a Keurig or another coffee maker. You can get a coffee press. You can make it at home, folks, and it doesn't take a lot of energy. Okay, you don't have time. It's like, I only have so much time to get to work. Well, you know what you do? This is what my husband does, and sometimes I'll do it for him, is I will get the filters in the cups ready, have them lined up. I don't make his coffee because he and I like coffee differently. So it's all set, so he puts it in. I make sure his mugs are ready. They're insulated mugs. I make sure they're clean. He tries to clean them when he gets home, but if I notice that they're not, I'll go in there and I'll clean them up for him so that they're ready for him. So I have them ready for him. All he has to do is take those cups, put it in the Keurig, press the button, onward he goes, because the thing's filled with water. That's how we save money. Now, you can get those specialty brand coffees and you can buy them in packages. It will still save you money. We don't buy those coffees. We buy New England coffee, I think it is. And I use a chocolate cappuccino. I guess I am getting chocolate, okay? It doesn't taste like chocolate, but you can do that and buy those things on sale. Because I think my daughter worked for Starbucks and sometimes they have sales and stuff. I don't go to these places, so I don't really know. It's just what she told me a few years back when she worked for them when she was in college. So that's something you can do. And then take the time when you want something at Starbucks as a treat. So you're making your own coffee and then you just have a treat. And you can make 2 or 4 cups of coffee and bring them to work if you're one who drinks that much coffee. But just kind of give it an idea. I'm throwing it out there. If you can't give that up, give up on your sugary drinks. I'll get to that in a little bit. So while you're in line waiting for your coffee, how many of you are picking up a donut too? Okay, that's going to affect your health on the long run. I'm not telling you not to grab the donut or the bagel or whatever it is you're buying. That is up to you. That is there because most people are going through and that's their breakfast. That's fine. But the more you do that and you're not food conscious for healthy choices, the more you could have health issues later on down the road. And one being, which is really big in our United States, is diabetes. So consider making stuff at home and doing that as a treat and then use that time to get a donut. I don't recall the last time my husband got a donut. And one time we were driving by and I said, "Hun, do you want a donut?" I didn't want one, but I know he loves plain donuts from Dunkin' Donuts. He goes, "No." You know why? Because we don't shop there very often. We haven't been for, I don't even know how many years. I think since our youngest has been in college. We went and the price was so high for one donut. We just said, no, we won't do that. So I make other things for breakfast like banana bread, blueberry muffins, and that kind of stuff. Homemade is better, folks. The other thing is, if you want to have a special coffee treat, say you're willing to cut back on sitting in line, that you're wasting gas, so there's more money spending because everybody's lined up in their car. You're sitting in your car, not getting out and getting exercise, or it's pretty crowded in there, if I recall. So you're wasting gas too. So it's not just that cup of coffee. It's the additional things you might purchase if you do, but it's also the gas that you're wasting sitting in line. If you really want a cup of coffee, we have here in the Concord area, we have a family, 2 brothers who have a coffee shop, and they have treats and stuff like that, and it's designed to be a very relaxing atmosphere. Consider doing that as a treat, whether it's after work, go earlier than your work hours, or on the weekend, go on a date with your wife if you are both coffee drinkers, and go to their establishment, support that small business, because you will find that their establishment is much cleaner and you'll have a much more enjoyable breakaway. Let's see. So make your lunches, make your coffee at home. You're gonna save. Okay, so scale back. How did I say that? I've already done that. Plus those small businesses, you're going to get more of a quality. And some of those small businesses, like this coffee shop that I'm referring to, they actually buy their treats from another small business. So it's small businesses helping other small businesses. Isn't that awesome? That's what we should be doing. Is their coffee the same? I don't know. I truly am not a huge coffee drinker, but I do want to go there sometime with my husband so I could kind of promote them a little bit. So that you will get better quality. If you do go out, let me see what I wrote here. Okay, if you go out for lunches or even dinner, it's okay to bring the leftovers home, folks. You don't have to eat the whole meal. The last time we've gone out to eat, and this is before the pandemic hit, because everybody shut down And then when they opened up, it was like madness. And I said, I am not going to be dealing with that. I am not going to be treated like a lower class. When I come in here, you're going to treat me with respect because I'm paying you to serve me. And I knew that they were doing the mass and stuff. But there was some interesting, one of our favorite restaurants. And since then, they've gone out of business. So I don't know if I was the only one or if a lot of people say, no, we're not going to play that game. You're not going to treat us like that. So make sure that you support the businesses that want you there. But if you need to go out, and you know everybody deserves a treat from time to time, you get a salad. You can cut that salad in half and bring it home. Unless it's the only meal you've had all day and you're starving. You know, my husband will, if I get a salad, he might get a grinder. So what he does so that he can bring that other half grinder home is he puts all the things like oil or whatever he chooses as a liquid thing, pickles or anything like that, that could soak through the roll. He asks for it on the side so that he can cut it in half, enjoy that half now, and then enjoy the other half at another meal the next day. And the food stays fine. So you can take your leftovers home and they're fine, folks. They won't. One of the things we do now, every now and then we'll go to our local Chinese restaurant. I never went to Chinese restaurants very much, maybe once every 2 years or something. But now once every 3 months, we do pick it up. And I'll tell you why. First of all, I love Chinese, but they do have products that my husband likes, and he's not a Chinese person at all in terms of food consumption. So we get that, and we just split up. And plus, they always give you more rice than you need. So you can put that into stir fries and you don't have to cook it. We recently discovered that as long as we order before 3 o'clock, there is a luncheon special that we both like. That's about $14. And so we get that. It's perfect for us. And you want to know what? We still have too much rice left over. So, but we like them. They're very nice company. They treat us. You know, they tease David all the time because one time he forgot to bring the menu home when we decided this is what we wanted to do every 3 or 4 months. Because we used to go out to eat 3 times a year for our birthdays and our anniversary. So this is kind of taking that place a little bit. But we're spending less actually because we don't spend the amount that we used to at the restaurant where we got other foods and we make those foods at home. I'm rambling. So consider doing that, and please use your leftovers. They're not going to hurt you. And if you do have leftovers, make sure you compost what you need to. And if you're not going to eat your leftovers, don't bring it home so you have to throw it into your own trash. So, but you never know. Somebody you know might want it. I don't know. All right, another thing to consider, because the cost of meat is going high, be sure to purchase quality meat, purchase on sale, and then you can stretch your meat throughout the week. One thing that we've done is we don't eat meat sources as much as we used to. We are now incorporating more beans and legumes, and that's why chili is great. My salads might have garbanzo beans on it or black beans on it, so I'm incorporating those kind of proteins. Eggs, hard-boiled eggs, I cook them up for my husband so that he can have an egg salad sandwich, so he's getting a protein source. Those are things that you can do to offset the protein you might not be getting in those meats. And quite honestly, we don't need to eat as much protein as we once did. And I'll be honest, I love a good steak. I love a healthy hamburger. I really do. I don't like those pre-made frozen stuff, but I do like a good healthy steak. And lately, even though it's more costly, I prefer to go to the farm. It's right down the street. And I get some meat, and it's not cheap, but I kind of cut it up into small portions so that we get the enjoyment of the protein of those meats. But those dollars are getting spread out. And you guys can do this. All right, let me see what else. Another thing that you can do, let me see. I know there was something else I wanted to share. All right. Also, those leftovers from restaurants and stuff, if you bring them home, not just Chinese, but other foods that you might order. When we used to go out to eat, it was a seafood restaurant that we really enjoyed. we would bring them home and we would make another meal, maybe add something different to it to kind of make it more another new meal. And that's what you can do. Let's see. All right, some of you like those sugary soda drinks. I get it. I get it. The more sugar you consume, the more you crave it. So what you can start doing is trying to cut back. I recommend drinking a glass of water when you wake up, or drink a cup of water before lunchtime so you eat less. Drink a cup of water before dinner, or drink water with dinner, and it'll cut back on how much you're consuming. Now, I'm not here talking about health reasons, but it will benefit your health, and you'll find that you will eat less because you're filling your belly with something that's really good. Try to have filtered water if you can. If you need the sugar in your beverages, one thing that you can do, and I know a lot of people said this with me when I first found out I had Lyme disease. They would say, oh, you can't have fruit. I said, excuse me? I'm having fruit, thank you very much, because it's very healthy for you. They will say, well, you can't have sugar because it feeds the bacterium that's in your body. The bacterium feeds off a lot of sugars, that's true. But the healthy sugars, anything that grows from our earth is good for you. I confirmed this with my Lyme specialist, and I said, what are the people saying? Why can't I have fruit and stuff? He says, don't listen to him. He says, I would rather you eat fruit and vegetables and all that stuff because those sugars are coming from the earth. Those are designed for our bodies to consume. The sugars you don't want are the processed foods that are out there. So folks, if you're afraid, oh, I can't have sugar. Well, let me ask you, are you buying products with sugar in it? Are you buying processed food that has sugar in it? Check those labels. You'll find that you are. So what you can do though is if you really want to have a little bit of a flavor, consider buying fruit, and you can buy frozen fruit, put it in your water and let it seep in your water, or put it through a blender, whatever, and then you'll have a little bit of fruit flavor in your water. And that's one way to do it. It's just an idea. The other thing is, okay, some people like to go out to dinner, and I'm not a big going out to dinner person, but I did enjoy it for those 3 special days that we used to. But I've never been one because I feel like that intimate time away has changed over the years. When we were dating back in our high school years, it was great. We would dress up, we would go out to dinner, and it was special. I still felt claustrophobic because people are crowded in, although we did find a nice restaurant that people were spaced apart so that you could have a conversation without feeling like everybody knew, or children climbing over your seat. So I don't like going out to dinner, but because back then it was nice and you dressed up. Nobody dresses up. But when we were going those 3 times a year, I still dressed up because to us, dinner out is a special time away. So sometimes people like to go out to eat with friends and family and stuff, and that is fabulous. I am not ditching that at all. Do that. But another option for that, to save money for you as well as everybody else, is consider having entertainment at home. Invite them to your home to enjoy a meal that you cooked, or potluck where everybody contributes a special dish, or a barbecue. Whatever it is, consider doing that. And you know what? That's a little bit more intimate, and it's more involved, where everybody gets to participate, and there's no stress about how much people are going to be spending, because in all groups, there's always 1 or 2 that can't afford, and they just deal with the motions and don't share that they might be having a hard time. I've never been worried about it. I'll just tell people, no, I can't do it. And that wasn't to be mean or rude, but if I was asked to do something, I would say, oh, I can't afford to do that, but thank you for inviting me. And I don't really like people to pay my way, so it's just one of those things. I didn't want people to feel bad for me, so I would refuse it, but explain it's just not in our budget. And folks, if you're in that predicament, you need to be able to speak up, because not everybody has the means to go out to dinner with a group of people. So it's okay. Don't let the masses convince you that you need to do this. This is socially acceptable. This is what you need to do because, but you not, it can be, it's weird, it's awkward. So, gatherings with friends, potlucks, have it change houses as you socialize with your friends. This month you serve, next month they serve, or however often you get together. Those are options to save money, folks. And what you can do is you can bring a hostess gift. Let's bring back those old-fashioned values that are showing appreciation for one another. Now that I just shared that, let's see, I think I had a few more things to share on that. All right. 2 things. And some people might take offense. So I'm going to share the first one. And it's to give up on bad habits. Now, a lot of us, when we hear bad habits, we might think of drinking and we might think of smoking. Those are bad habits. Most of the people that have those habits know it. So we shouldn't, I'm not trying to shame you or anything like that. One thing that you could do is cut back. But let's talk about the other habits. What about, I used to like Dorito chips. I don't get them anymore. But what product out there do you consume that when it gets into your house, you just consume the whole thing? Do you have any of those? Because if you do, see if you can cut back and see if you can start training yourself not to need too much, such as ice cream. We don't generally buy ice cream very often, but when we do, mine comes in a little container because I buy a coconut ice cream dessert. My husband buys another one, and what we do is I have these little ice cream bowls or dessert bowls or whatever, and we just put a scoop in. That lasts a long time, but for me, it satisfies that sweetness. The time I have trouble is when I'm under a lot of stress, and that's when I overconsume. So know what your bad habit is. It doesn't have to be something we see as a health bad thing. It could be overconsuming of products. It can also be when you're stress eating, you might eat too many mashed potatoes. So portion out your food at the meal and then put it away as a leftover, and guess what? The next night or the next lunch, you don't have to prepare that. It's all done for you. So it's a win-win. The last thing that I want to share is stay healthy. Try to buy healthy foods. If you consume more fruits and vegetables, drink your water, healthy meats, healthy meat products, legumes, and some of us can have cheese and some of us can't. There's other alternates. Consume them in moderation. And I know a lot of people love cheese. I used to love cheese. And as I changed some of my habits, I was listening to a hormone specialist and naturopath, and I realized that some of my allergies could have something to do with the balance of the various hormones. We're not talking about estrogen here. We're talking about our bodies are full of a variety of hormones, and one gets turned off when we have stresses in our body. I'm not going to go into it right here, but it was just like eye-opening, and it was like, and that's why we crave things, because our bodies are off. So if we want to bring things back, try to consume appropriately, exercise, have a healthy lifestyle, and consume these foods to better improve you. You don't need a special diet, folks. Please do not be bought into these plans because they spend your money. And in these times, you have to be very careful about how you're utilizing your resources. So, and that's the same with supplements too. If you're just using them because you're afraid you're not going to get your nutrients, if you're eating your fruits and vegetables and getting a balanced protein, you're going to be okay. And you can stretch out. If you like peppers in your salad, Have a green pepper today, have a yellow one tomorrow, have a red one, or change the colors of your day of what you're going to consume for fruit and vegetables. I like colors, so I like to have a mixture. And I generally have a salad like 4 to 5 days a week, but some days I don't. And as the fall comes in, I like the comfort foods of meatloaf, mashed potatoes, and that kind of stuff. And those are still good, but you got to make sure you're adding in those vegetables of peas, beans, and even the corn, carrots, all of that stuff. But you don't have to have peas every single day. You can have a variety. Today peas, tomorrow carrots, and all that. Or you can have 2 at each meal. So try to make some choices, and you'll find that the healthy choices you make will fill you fuller, and you won't be craving more. And as you learn to do this, it takes about 21 days to change a habit. You don't need to be on a special diet plan. You have to be on a plan of your willingness to change for yourself and for your health. And the goal would be not to have to be at the doctor's office all the time. So let's work on that, and let's hope that our budgets get better as we stretch our dollars, as we watch the prices, as we purchase purposely for what our bodies need. Hey, thanks for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and I look forward to coming back and sharing a little bit more. God bless. Enjoy your day.